Breaking news! IGN did something that Luke likes? Question mark, exclamation point? What? I know, I'm surprised too, but they did do something I like. I have complained, shocker, about lots of things in my life and YouTube career. One of them being, I think people often get confused with like what reviews effectively are. You know, reviews for games. Because when you're watching the review from like a YouTuber, if you understand what the YouTuber likes and the types of games that they like or dislike, you get a feeling that like, oh, Luke gave this game a 10, and I know he typically does not like these kinds of games, which means if I'm like Luke, this is gonna be really, really awesome, right? Or my tastes tend to be closer to SkillUp's tastes with games. And SkillUp said this game is a 5 out of 10. It's terrible. I'm gonna stay away, right? We understand that with individual like personality-driven creators and reviewers, but with big institutions like IGN, GameSpot, what have you, that gets lost because it's assigned to different reviewers all the time. Like the guy that's reviewing Arc Raiders and doing that preview is not the guy that's reviewing Death Stranding, right? Because it's all different people. It's this big team and the editor chooses, Tom, you go and review this. Simon, you review that. And so you never really know what you're gonna get. We say IGN gave this game a blah, blah, blah out of 10, but it doesn't really mean anything unless you know who is reviewing it specifically. Now, what did IGN do that I like? Well, they posted a video saying, I'm reviewing Death Stranding 2. Here's what I thought of the original. And the reason I really like this is because it lets you know, based on Simon's previous opinion and experience with the last game, what and how Death Stranding 2 actually compares. Because what happens a lot with like niche or polarizing games that get sequels is that they tend to get assigned to the people who liked and enjoyed and engaged with the previous one, which leads to review scores that are pretty high, but really just reaffirm like the fans' perspective once more. In other words, like, if you were somebody that really hated Death Stranding and you skipped it after 5 hours of trying it and you're like, I got it on a sale, I just am not liking it, it's boring, I'm gonna stop playing. That guy probably is not gonna be asked to review Death Stranding 2, right? So if you understand that, you know, instead they're gonna give it to the guy that played Death Stranding and maybe enjoyed it or thought it was pretty good or had a lot of potential. Then you look at the review for the sequel differently because you know, okay, this is somebody that at least tolerated or liked even the first game. So I think that this is a really good idea to kind of set the stage, explain the familiarity with the franchise, explain the like what you thought of it so that we know going into IGN's review for Death Stranding 2, oh, well, this guy was, you know, maybe a hardcore Kojima fanboy, or he did not like Death Stranding 1 and he loved Death Stranding 2. That is important information to have. So let's see what he thought of Death Stranding 2 or 1. Can't keep track.
Hello, I'm Simon and I'll be reviewing Death Stranding 2 on the beach for IGN. As you probably know, the response to the original Death Stranding was varied to say the least. So I thought it would be helpful to provide a bit of context regarding my own feelings about the 2019 sci-fi epic before hearing my thoughts on the sequel.
Welcome to the GH Magellan.
And again, I think this is just good practice. I know technically you could go back, filter articles from Simon on the IGN webpage, and then try to find his original review if he did the original review for Death Stranding. But I'm not sure if Simon did the original review for IGN, in which case you wouldn't be able to do that, period.
I didn't review Death Stranding for IGN.
There you go. I should have just listened.
And the score of 6.8 we gave it isn't anywhere close to the most negative assessment Death Stranding received at launch, but it's also far from the glowing praise some others bestowed upon it.
Yeah, Death Stranding is weird because there's some people that call it a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and then it seemed like the consensus at launch was that it was like a C, like, you know, maybe fine or good even, but it had major problems. I forgot that IGN gave it a 6.8 though. Dude, I'm sure the fanboys were they were vicious, I'm sure. They don't handle that very well.
As I said, verdicts were varied, and I'm about to add yet another to the mix. Opinions are inherently subjective, especially when it comes to art, so naturally my thoughts on Death Stranding differ from our original reviewer Tristan's, albeit not by too much.
Okay, let's speed this up a bit.
This is not a re-review, so you won't get a different score here, but let me explain what I did and didn't like about the original.
Bring it on.
Let's start with the story.
Dude, I forgot that opening was unhinged.
Arguably the most complex and divisive aspect of Death Stranding. It's the element I also happen to enjoy the most, as I fully embraced its ever-increasing glossary of fresh sci-fi terminology and ended up quite connected to its core cast of characters. I think it's definitely the sort of experience that rewards you the more you put into its world, and while it can prove a little impenetrable during its slower earlier hours, I really did end up fully invested by its final act. Sam's connection to Lou, as well as the dynamic between Cliff Unger and Die Hardman, especially resonated with me.
Hold on, I have to show you something. I have to show you something before we continue talking about Death Stranding. It was a clip of one of our famous and very well-known gamers playing Death Stranding back in the day. And I had kind of forgotten about it because, man, it's just so fantastic. It was specifically a clip of DSP trying to play Death Stranding and the baby starts crying. And so DSP, being DSP, grabs his controller and starts like violently shaking the controller, because you're supposed to like cradle the baby and rock the baby gently to get it to stop crying. But again, DSP being DSP, he just starts like shaking the baby violently. It's very funny. It's very funny, but I can't find the snippet of it. I guess I have to give up. Bummer, dude. If one of you finds it, link it to me, okay? Link it to me and we'll look at it. We'll look at it because it's very funny. Anyway, continuing on. Damn it.
There is no atoning for what I've done.
Die Hardman's final scene, brilliantly brought to life by Tommy Earl Jenkins, is one of the most affecting performances in a video game that I can remember. That's not to say that the rest of the cast aren't also fantastic. I could lay on praise for all of them, ranging from Margaret Qualley's dual roles to Lea Seydoux' complicated Fragile.
I'm fragile.
But
Not that fragile.
I'm looking forward to seeing new faces join them this time around, in particular Elle Fanning's enigmatic Tomorrow, and I'm willing to go on the record now as saying I don't trust her at all.
So you'll be a mother who gives birth to her baby.
Very normal question.
Yes, there's a huge scale here in its world-ending events and giant oily monsters, but this is the sort of sci-fi and post-apocalypse fiction I really connect with. Grand, global stories rooted in deeply personal tales, like Denis Villeneuve's Arrival or Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Death Stranding delicately balances moments of wonder, whether they be colossal looming threats or simply walking over the crest of a hill to a dose of low roar, with one-on-one conversations that anchor that grandeur in relatable humanity. It's those very human themes of birth, death, hope and grief that we can all relate to, and I enjoyed greatly how these shone through, no matter how much alien language was thrown my way over the 40 or so hours its tale takes to tell.
With its help and you, we'll be able to stay one step ahead of them.
In terms of gameplay, it looks like we'll be getting more of that MGS flavoured tactical espionage action from Death Stranding 2, if recent hands-on previews are anything to go by. This excites me greatly, because no matter how much I enjoyed the original story, I'd be lying if I said I didn't find the act of actually playing Death Stranding a slog at times. In fact, it's what made me bounce off of it when it first released back in 2019. On my first go around, I got just a handful of hours in, before deciding all that walking just wasn't working for me. Its routine of setting out for a hike, crossing rivers and mountains, before eventually reaching nothing more exciting than a delivery location, became tiresome for me very quickly.
It is a game that, you know, I don't even know what to call it. Because, like, I call some games junk food games, you know? Like, you pop them in, they give you no substantive value at all. Like, no nutrition. But it's just something for you to put in your mouth. Yeah, it's just something for you to do with your hands. It's like popcorn. You know, you just pop it in, pop it in. That's kind of what like Skyrim feels like, or like a lot of Assassin's Creed games can feel like that, where it's not like gonna change your life. It's not gonna like really inspire anything massive in you. It's just something to tickle a part of your brain to keep you engaged. Maybe while you have Family Guy on a second monitor or something, you know? A lot of people are like that with like simulation games. They'll play one of those, or a first-person shooter, play Call of Duty while they have a podcast pulled up, or the Luke Stevens stream. But Death Stranding is one of those games where I think you really do need something like that. Because when you're just hiking up a mountain, like there's very little brain power required. You just kind of are doing the thing. And especially later in the game, you'll set up these like zip lines. And once you've set up the zipline network sufficiently and also upgraded the roads and stuff in the game, there is very, very little that you need to do when completing deliveries. Like the end game, if you can even call it that, is pretty mindless in Death Stranding. I think by design, it's why I've said I like playing Death Stranding on like a rainy day. I like playing it when I just want to veg out and not activate my full brain, which I understand some people hating. For me, it's not a game I would play like super actively or anything, but like it's something, I feel like doing some deliveries. Let's go do that. But I totally understand why people hate it. It's always funny to me though. There's kind of two types of people, well, three types of people. There's people who just find Death Stranding totally boring and uninteresting, and that's fine. Then of the people that played it to its conclusion, there's two types. There's people, it seems, that really liked the story and tolerated the gameplay. And then there's people that liked the gameplay and tolerated the story. I am more the latter. Like, I find so much of Kojima's writing to be high school writing at best. Like, it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. Luke, you say you've got the link? You found it? Oh, wait. Yes, you did. T-Bone posted it here. Okay. I can show you this. I can show you that you found it. I'm so glad you found it. I'm so glad you found it. Here it is.
I don't know what to do about BB. I tried soothing, it didn't work.
I don't know what I can do about the baby.
Soothe BB.
Soothe BB.
Come on, soothe BB. Soothe it. Apparently there's no soothing BB. Like, I'm trying, but something's working.
It's not working.
Well, I tried.
Dude, there's no way this is a real human being. Like, this is a real person, dude. I cannot imagine that. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Very little, though. Very little. Now this really anything.
It might be it might be faked and edited, but the fact that it looks like it could be real, and knowing DSP, it very well could be real, that's almost sadder. You know? Oh no, my baby's crying. Like, damn, DSP, chill. Oh God. Now that baby invests in meme coins. He's not gonna be a dad. Oh, please, dear God. Yeah, there's other ones. Dark side, Phil. Oh my God. Stop whispering.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, he takes a wrong turn. He starts going the wrong way on the course.
What's going on? What the fuck? What the fuck? What just happened? The game put me in the wrong direction?
No, you drove the wrong way.
In the wrong direction. Oh, thanks. Oh, I think there's a problem with that.
Yep.
Why did the game put me in the
And then, like, the whole time he was playing Mario Kart, dude, he's driving in the grass, and so he's like, he slows down. And then he's like, the game is randomly slowing me down for no reason. It's like, have you never played Mario Kart before? It's amazing, dude. It's crazy. Either, like, I kind of hope that one day he just comes forward, like Nikocado Avocado, where he came out and was like, this whole thing, I actually lost all the weight. Look at me now. Like, I hope it's something like that, where he comes forward one day. Dude's got like a thick, posh British accent. He's like, yes, Phil was a social experiment of mine for the last 20 years. None of it was real. I actually live in Cambridge in North Hampshire, and we decided to experiment with the American stereotype of video gamer. I hope he comes out like that and this whole thing has been fake. I don't think so, but I hope that that's what it would be. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be so amazing? He's like, yes, I did in fact know that you do not shake babies to get them to calm down in Death Stranding, but I wanted to present it as if it were for the sake of comedy. You know, oh man, that'd be great. What an amazing reveal that would be. Alas, I don't think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it. I'm muted still. Damn it. That would literally be mind-blowing. Dude, it would. And it would like also be kind of believable because it's also like there's no way somebody like him is real, but no, he's very, very real. A 40-year-old man addicted to mobile games for children. Like,
the delivery location became tiresome for me very quickly, especially during its laborious and seemingly never-ending third chapter. But I'm very glad I gave it another shot a couple of years ago, this time playing the director's cut to completion, as I found myself having a much more enjoyable time with it. That new version's addition of deeper combat and new delivery tools, such as the companion bot and catapult, introduced some much needed variety into the mix. Plus, the fact that many half-built highways, helpful ladders and convenient bridges already existed in the world, thanks to the online chiral network, definitely made the journey a lot smoother than it was at launch. The further I got into the game and the more my collection of tools grew, the more fun I found myself having. I bombed along on a motorcycle and enjoyed setting up zipline systems to dart around with ease. I'm hopeful that many of these convenient delivery options are available from the get-go in Death Stranding 2. Travelling across Death Stranding's world was ultimately rewarding then, but I still can't say I ever fully clicked with its combat. Yes, I did have a good laugh chucking blood and piss grenades at a big oily lion, but I largely found its BT encounters a bit of a trudge. It meant that I avoided conflict as much as possible, a perfectly valid way to play Death Stranding, but one that did result in me letting out a groan every time it started to rain.
and I think that this is true of like a lot of games where they try to design something so it's tense, so you like try to deal with it more tactically. But I think if it's not fun, players will do what he just described, which is they will walk somewhere else or avoid it. Like combat in Death Stranding, or in like FromSoft games, Soulsborne games, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro. The combat is the selling point, you know? Like you're looking to engage in combat whenever you can. You're looking in Elden Ring for boss fights because those are so fun and they're the high point of the game. So you're seeking them out. In a game like Death Stranding, the combat for, and I am saying this as somebody who's been replaying Death Stranding recently, works pretty well on the Steam Deck actually. I actually think that like I found myself avoiding combat as well and avoiding big BT encounters if I can help it. And whenever you're playing a game and then you're actively not engaging with like a major system, I just feel like that's not great. You know? I feel like that's not great. Feels like if that part of the game was good, you'd be engaging with it. You know? And I can see if you, in case you didn't look at it, the director's cut for Death Stranding came out with like new combat. It had like an arena sort of mode. They had the racing track. They had an additional like mission thing that you could do that was very MGS. And that stuff is all fine. Like that's all fine and dandy. But it was also just still not very tight. Wasn't that great. And I'm hoping that for the sequel, it's just been elevated even more. What excites me about the sequel is like the environmental stuff, seeing the mudslides, seeing the flash floods, seeing stuff like that gets me excited and interested, frankly. Hearing that they're going to have more of a focus on like gunplay doesn't excite me that much because it wasn't something I thought was particularly compelling the first time around. But maybe it's so good this time that it is compelling. Who knows?
I also found myself largely dodging human enemies too, with their yellow hazmat suits often signifying tedious stealth situations. I'm encouraged then that Death Stranding 2 looks to be quite a bit more action heavy in the way it's expanding your arsenal, and enabling you to deal with threats in more dynamic ways. While I'm not asking for Sam to become a super soldier able to take waves of enemies head on, I am looking forward to wielding a bit more firepower this time around, instead of opting to skirt around the edges of combat.
It's also, though, like, narratively, I think what also helps Death Stranding is that you're a porter. Like, you deliver stuff. You are not some super soldier, and that's the point. One way this could maybe backfire is if they just try to turn Death Stranding into Metal Gear, and but you also deliver packages. And maybe that ends up being really, really cool, but I think that will cause people, perhaps like me, who liked the kind of relaxing nature of deliveries and building out the infrastructure and the road networks and zip lines and stuff. It might turn us off if more combat is pushed more actively. But if it's literally just about providing options, it's like, no, you can engage in combat more. Or if you want to avoid encounters, you can do that too. Then we're okay. But I'm not sure.
So the too long didn't read version is that I really enjoyed the world of Death Stranding and its characters, but didn't find the moment-to-moment gameplay consistently rewarding. I liked it, just didn't love it. I'm very excited to jump back in with Death Stranding 2 though. From what we've seen so far, it does look like the story is packed full of intrigue again, and that will be treated the sort of spectacle that rarely gets created outside of Kojima's studio walls. I'm just hoping it has the gameplay to match its cinematic ambitions this time around, and doesn't make the gaps between its gloriously sculpted cutscenes as much of a chore. I guess we'll all find out when my review of Death Stranding 2 drops on June 23rd. For more Death Stranding 2, check out our hands-on preview of the game, or the latest trailer. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
I'm guessing, because again, everything Kojima keeps saying is that he really, really, really wants to make a movie. It seems like at this point, Kojima's whole career is just building up to him making a movie. So I'm guessing it's going to have like more really, really long cutscenes. I do think the gameplay is going to be better, but yeah, I'm not expecting anything like totally revolutionary. I would love to be surprised and for people to like come out with their reviews and just be like, I didn't really like the first game. I love this. Like, I really hope that it's that. But I'm guessing it's going to be a refinement, not revolution. You know, that's my guess. The combat is good. The problem is it's too easy. I agree the combat is too easy, but it's also the tools they give you for combat are not robust enough, in my opinion, to like really crank the difficulty, like with really tough encounters. Because even like the BT encounters or some of the narrative stuff with like Mads Mikkelsen's character, like those, they just turn all the enemies into bullet sponges, and you lob, as he said, piss and poo grenades and blood grenades at people, and it's just like it just doesn't really work as fluidly as I would have liked. So it's going to be interesting. IGN is not going to review the game well. Well, I mean, hearing at least where Simon's coming from, I think he had a pretty level-headed take on the base game. That seems fair. I think, frankly, even if you were a big hardcore fan of Death Stranding, I think you could hear what he just described in this and go, you know what? Fair. Do they really did they stitch on the trailers onto the back of this video so that they would pass the 8-minute mark for mid-roll ads? I think that's what they did. Because if you don't know, you have to pass the 8-minute mark in order to get mid-roll ads, which like can double the amount of revenue a video makes. And I think they just stitched on the trailer for the second game so they would hit the 8-minute mark, since the base video was only 6 minutes long. That's freaking funny. Anyway, it's better than what some guys, I remember back in the day, some like YouTubers, who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was. There was one guy, maybe it was I can't remember his name. It's the guy that's been talking about GTA 6 since like 2014. I think he was doing the thing where he would make like a 2-minute speculation video, just be like, it's been confirmed that you have to pay alimony if you father an unborn, or if you father a child out of wedlock in GTA 6. You have to pay child support, and if you don't, then it gets claimed by the government. Anyway, thanks for watching, and they would just be black. It would just be black screen for like 6 or 7 minutes so that the mid-rolls would play. And it was like the most toxic thing you've ever seen in your life. Really, really bad. Yeah, but anyway, this is just funny to me, but we'll see. Reviews go up next week. We'll see. Fingers crossed. He took my thing.